Hey guys, Mike Frontera here, back with another edition of Retirement Theory. There are a few things scarier to most of us than spending our last years fading away in some nursing home. We've probably all had loved ones in that situation, and it can truly be a heartbreaking thing to experience. And what makes the thought of such a thing happening to us even worse is the financial devastation that a long stay in one of these facilities can bring. Nobody sacrifices their whole lives squirreling away money decade after decade in the hopes of someday blowing through it all in a few years in a nursing home. The nightmare of such a scenario is often brought up by a financial planner or an elder law attorney, or even brought up by a client themselves, scared about living through what one of their parents perhaps went through. And what is often recommended as planning measures basically consists of setting up a trust to hide assets from Medicaid, or buying long-term care insurance. The problem with both of those measures is that doing either of them often requires a great deal of sacrifice themselves. A Medicaid trust might put too many restrictions on your assets or simply cannot be done, and obtaining long-term care insurance can be exorbitantly expensive. So most people just throw up their hands and say, forget it, I'll do nothing. But the good news is that planning for long-term care doesn't have to be so horrible. The statistics bear out, in fact, that most people do not go through their life savings during a long-term care scenario. Is there a risk of catastrophic portfolio depletion? Yes, but it might be smaller than you think. Let's take a closer look at the risk of needing long-term care for an extended period of time and some ways to reduce that risk in a sensible way. And since we're speaking so much about long-term care, let's get on the same page of what it actually is. So, paraphrasing the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, long-term care is non-medical care associated with the basic tasks of our everyday life or activities of daily living. Those activities of daily living, or ADLs, are often listed by insurance companies as things that you must need help with in order to make a claim on your long-term care insurance. Okay, so those ADLs include bathing, dressing, using the toilet, transferring, so getting from point A to point B, continence, and eating. I know, not too fun to think about. And of course, the other piece that could require someone to need long-term care would be a cognitive impairment like having Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so statistically speaking, what are the odds that you will find yourself needing long-term care? Well, according to Genworth's 2015 Cost of Care survey, 70% of us over age 65 will need some form of care during our lifetimes. And wow, that's a huge number. Well, that big number roughly is the one that's used by insurance companies when they try to sell long-term care insurance. AARP has the number a bit lower. Their Public Policy Institute in May of 2017 says that 52% of us 65 or older will need care at some point. But even that number includes the care that many of us will receive at home, either by family or someone that is hired to come in. If we look strictly at the odds of going to an assisted living facility or nursing home, the odds go more in our favor. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states that the percentage of us needing any kind of care in a facility is 37%. And the length of the average stay in one of those facilities for those that need it is only 1 year. So it seems like most of us may be lucky enough to avoid the financially devastating impact of long-term care. But, of course, the risk is still there. AARP notes that 10% of men and 18% of women needing long-term care will need it for 5 years or longer. However, this might be a bit confusing because they do not specifically say nursing home stay for 5 years or more. This is important. Again, some of that might still be home care. And a nursing home is where the real big money is spent. Research firm Morningstar noted a study done in 2014 by Boston College in which care specifically received in a nursing home was analyzed. There, they concluded that 22% of men and 36% of women need more than 1 year of nursing home care, but that only 2% of men and 7% of women may need 5 or more years in a nursing home. That's still a risk, but it does seem a lot less likely than the catch-all 70% number that is often given. Still, for the unlucky portion of us that need that most expensive care for that long, it can be financially devastating. So, what are a few ways that we can plan for this risk in a smart way? Well, the first thing is that without any sophisticated planning techniques, you can still protect yourself somewhat. Are you relocating in retirement? Research the cost of nursing homes in the states and areas that you're considering moving. A huge aspect of cost just depends on where you get your care. So in New York, for example, the average cost of a private room in a nursing home is about $140,000 per year. In Oklahoma, though, a private room averages only about $63,000 a year, which is less than half. Even within the same state or neighboring states, you will likely find very large swings in cost. Also, be sure to stress test this long-term care risk in the context of your financial plan. What can your portfolio handle as an unanticipated expense? How long could you draw an extra $70,000 to $100,000 before it destroys your plan? With that information in mind, revisit ways to cover the more catastrophic but less likely risk of an extended care scenario. Long-term care insurance policies' cost is highly driven by the elimination period or waiting period before benefits are paid. If you're able to cover yourself for a short-term care situation, you can likely save a lot on premiums by pushing out that waiting period. You can also look to get a policy that provides some of the coverage rather than seeking out one that covers 100% of those expenses. That lighter amount of protection might be all you need to take some of that burden off of your portfolio from carrying all your care expenses. It may also be worthwhile to investigate the use of a life insurance policy as an alternative to long-term care. A death benefit can go a long way to replace what might have been spent down during a time of long-term care. And a permanent life insurance policy may remove your distaste for paying for something that may never get used. In fact, there are many hybrid policies that have become very popular as long-term care planning tools as well. So these combine the features of both life and long-term care insurance in a way that may help control your costs and provide benefits when you need them most. So, do you have questions for me? Let me know. Give me a call at 518-469-8152 or just visit me at www.retirementtheory.com. Do you follow me on Facebook? I think that you should. You'll see videos like these and get blog and article shares on everything retirement planning. Once again, thank you for joining me. See you next time.